everybody, this is Rydel Danzie with the WHIN podcast, another episode, and as you see, we have a table full of people, and what you don't see is we have two others sitting back here on the guest couch. Our camera for that isn't working.
And we're in the Battleborn Ducker studio, so we're just going to be
jaw-jacking about some shotguns. So as far as I know, that's all that we're doing. Can we just do a quick round table and introduce yourselves? We're going to save you for last because you talk a lot. So, Mr. Greg, go ahead.
All right. My name's Greg Vury. I'm with Bear Arms. I'm also part of Mossy Oak Pro Staff. I've been with them for about, 12 years now. 15 years, I think it is now. But I'm born and raised duck hunter from Minnesota originally. So I'm definitely miss the Midwest kind of duck hunting. Out here is a little bit more different than back home, of course. But yeah, it's still a lot of fun, though. I still love getting out if I can get out. Just too busy, so. But.
There you go. You got to make some time. Get out there when you can.
Absolutely.
Don't let the ducks fly by. Mr. Don, you can't see him right now, but he's here. You may have already seen him. On
there we go, Mr. Don.
There we go.
Hi, my name's Don Propst, and I'm a board member with WHIN. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have Mr. Nick Gulley. You guys already know him, seen him several times. And he brought a friend today. You can't see her, but it might be the love of his life.
I'm this guy from All Around Retrievers, 3-year-old golden retriever, part of the Marsh Addiction crew. And I'm a lifelong Nevadan. Part of the not-so-pro staff, Wader Nation. So let's do this. Let's talk some gear, boys.
Let's talk some gear, but before we get into that,
we need to finish out this table. Yeah. And to my right, your left, is my brother from another mother, back picking cotton in the same lands in Alabama. Mr. Joel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Joel Henderson out of Montgomery, Alabama. Got a small website or YouTube, Alabama Outdoors. Been duck hunting all over the eastern seaboard, and now came out west of duck hunting.
There you go. How are you liking it so far?
I love it. Love duck hunting out here.
There you go. So that's Joel. He's going to be on here a bunch of other times. We're going to be talking about some stuff, maybe getting some big game. And then the star of the hour, the person that maybe, I guess, knows more about shotguns than everybody else in here, Mr. Ruben. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm not so sure about that introduction, but Ruben Aquino, lifelong native of Las Vegas, Nevada, and just been waterfowling all over the state as well as pretty much all sorts of parts of the country. I had the opportunity and blessed to hunt with a whole bunch of different people and been involved since retiring, been involved in a lot more hunting, a lot more being part of the industry as far as meeting different hunters from all over the country, as well as being part of Delta Waterfowl, Ducks Unlimited, and obviously here in our home state of with WHIN. So thank you for having me here. Hopefully I can share some knowledge and impart some information to you guys.
Thanks for being here. I know for myself, I saw you doing a duck seminar with Endow years ago, and that was part of my transition for hunting ducks here out in the West, because it is a difference if you're hunting from anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And then later on, found you out in the woods. And then it was dark, and I didn't know who you were because it was dark, and we just all were in waders and stuff, and it was cold. And then when the sun came up, I was like, hey, I know you. So you have a lot of knowledge, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
That was the first time I saw Ruben as well, was at the Endow seminar he put on that I went to as well. So,
very good.
Nice.
I didn't realize people actually attended the event.
Yeah, I attended online. I was cooking. I had you on the laptop while I was cooking. Actually,
on the Endow webinar during COVID years.
Was it during? No, it was before COVID. I think. Yeah, it was before COVID.
Yeah, right before COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now, let me give you a little history on Ruben Aquino. This is how much experience you have in this room with this one individual right here, not only with the world of duck hunting. So let's go back to 1985. I'm 17 years old, new employee over at American Shooters, which was a business locally here. And Ruben pretty much, what were you, 19 at the time?
19.
And Ruben was the man to be sought after to talk about any kind of firearm in the city of Las Vegas. American Shooters was smart enough to bring him on. That's the man that knows anything from handgun all the way up to shotgun rifles. You got a lot of experience right there sitting there, plus his law enforcement career. So we're honored to have him in the room. And the duck hunter, I say one of the best in the state. That's my personal.
Well, I appreciate that. We're definitely among princes in here as far as waterfowling, and I could say that about Nick Gulley as well. He's been doing it for a long, long time as well. So hopefully, you folks out there listening, there's a lot of knowledge in here, and hopefully that you guys can learn something, and we can continue these type of podcasts. So glad to share what we have. You know,
Absolutely.
I'm not, and I know Nick and myself, we're not the ones that hold information. We want to share this information to everyone.
Everybody be successful.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And Greg, I know that you said you were hunting out. It's Midwest, right?
Minnesota.
So you were out hunting there. How was your challenges as far as making that transition to hunt out here? Because it is different.
It's totally different. I mean, I used to wake up early in the morning, go out, do some duck hunting, and go to high school. You know, I'd drive out, shoot a couple ducks, get in my truck, and go home, or go to school. Leave the gun in the back of the truck, and you could get away with that back in the day, you know. But totally different. You know, I was literally 5 minutes from hunting, and out here, you know, you're an hour and a half from hunting. So it's definitely different as far as that goes. Different ducks, just a lot of different ducks out here, which is so much cooler. You know, back there it's just your teal, your mallards, you know, all those typicals. I know Joel and I were talking about this just the other day, where the cans and all the redheads, all these divers. It's a lot of fun to shoot. So yeah,
we definitely get a plethora of different types of ducks. I remember probably 3 years ago, I was sitting on the water out in Overton and saw some wood ducks, and I didn't know we even had them here at all. And I was looking, and I was like, those are wood ducks. I hadn't seen them since being back on the east side, and I hit up Benny, and I was like, are we allowed to shoot them?
Right?
And he was like, yeah, go for it. But by the time they had already went over off to the side, and then here comes Scotty Fowler like a couple years later and gets all of them. I think it was opening day with the youth that was out there.
I'm hoping only 2.
Well, he had youth that he had taken out.
Oh.
So I'm sure that the kids got theirs as well.
Statute of limitations right out.
But that is something that actually we need to be paying attention to is our limits, bird identification. I know I've taken guys out, and for me, learning, when I first started, I was out there with my book, I was out there with my app, and I wouldn't shoot anything until I knew 100%. And then it got to when I started taking the others out, and I'm like, oh yeah, that one you can shoot out. Okay, and to them, they just looked like birds that were flying.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that I was able to do it off the fly, and that just comes with the experience, and it comes from going out there and doing things. And you guys, all you guys know what's going on with that. So.
Definitely with the book, having an ID book with you, but also one of the tips that we've given out in the past is actually having a pair of binoculars, right? So you can really identify those birds on the water. And so that really actually increases your knowledge in a very, very fast period of time, and gives you that opportunity to look at birds while they're not flying.
Yeah,
absolutely. Look at them on the water if they're on the water, and be able to try to find them on the ID book. So
I second that, and I still bring my binos with me. Shout out to Alpin Optics. I do know that I had put up. I wrote like a small article for Game Fish magazine, and then I put like a snippet of that on one of the Facebook groups or whatever. And the amount of people saying, if you don't know how to identify without binos, you shouldn't be hunting or whatever. And then Mr. Nick Gulley, he came to my defense, and he defended me. And I was like, how are you putting people down for trying to do the right thing and giving an extra advantage with the binos? And it's not just about killing. It's about watching. It's about seeing how they're reacting to each other and learning those patterns. And then the next time after you see it over and over again, you're like, okay, I know that ready duck's going to go down and the other one's going to sit up.
Just flight patterns sometimes, how they're flying through the sky, just to check that out. So, know what's flying in the area.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that that's something like that little bit of knowledge right there. People just think that binos are just for big game hunting.
Right. Or bird watchers.
Or bird watchers.
So we are part-time bird watchers.
We are part-time. We're part-time bird watchers with the chance to put something in the freezer.
And that's how the scouting goes too. So you want to know where they're nesting, where they're roosting, and where they're flying from. Where they're going to food, where they're coming from. So you need the binoculars to see where they're at.
Okay.
Yep, watching them fly in and fly out, you start learning what they look like in the air. So when you see them coming in, hey, these are redheads, these are teal, these are canvasbacks.
Yep.
So.
Nice.
One of the things where we have an advantage of being WHIN members, because we are actively involved in banding ducks with the Department of Wildlife. During the off season, starting in July, a lot of us go out there and we're banding ducks. So we're hands-on during the molt, after the molt. So you're getting to see ducks in the hand right up close and personal. And all of a sudden, I've been with biologists, federal and local, and during the molt, it's very difficult. And they're in the know, and they're like, hey, Nick, what do you think? So we're looking at wings, we're looking at bills and feet. It's difficult in the molt. Then when the birds start coming in during the duck season, now we're starting to see colors. Makes it interesting and easier to identify wing beats. Yep. So, yeah, just being part of WHIN preseason, we're hands-on, and we're seeing what the ducks are like. So, another plug for WHIN.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Conservation is a lifestyle.
Conservation is a lifestyle.
It is.
Wow.
But I do want to ask you something. Actually, I'm putting this on the table for everyone. And it goes to what you were just talking about, because we all know about this whole bird flu situation that's going around the country. And now there are some cases in cows in places where there are no chicken farms at all, and they're thinking it's migratory birds. They are saying that for this season, we should be wearing gloves, a mask, and goggles. What say you?
Good question.
Wow.
Who's actually putting this out there? Is it the Department of Wildlife, FDA? Do we know?
These are doctors and biologists right now. It has not reached down to any Department of Wildlife, and I'm not sure if that's because it's going to probably put some people off from getting their license, or even for guides, or is it a money situation? But this is what has come down now.
Okay.
Like in this week.
Are they talking about cooking them thoroughly too? I mean,
Right.
the best ducks, medium rare. I mean, so they're talking about a fully cooked now as well.
I asked that question, and the answer to that was no. It was more about the handling.
Okay.
And if you come across a dead bird, which I don't think anybody does that anyway, to just leave it alone and not mess with it at all. But it's more about getting it into your orifices and touching the bird, and then touching your eyes and your nose and your mouth, which I'm sure all of us have had blood on our hands and just like and eat a Twinkie or whatever, and you're all about the day. You don't think anything about it, but yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Full disclosure, and it has nothing to do with what you had just stated, whether or not the bird is diseased or sick or whatever the case may be. But I handle everything, whether it's waterfowl or big game. I always put gloves on. I always put latex on. And that's just a practice that I've had. But it's not been influenced by the bird flu by any means. So that's just an individual practice, and that's a really deep rabbit hole to go down as far as handling of birds, because we have Isla, and we have other retrievers out there in the waterfowl world that handles that bird first, right? So should we be concerned about our dogs handling downed birds on their retreat? So,
and I asked that question too, and they said yes.
So I would like to have, obviously, much more information. What do we do? What are we talking about? In what context, right? Obviously, the cooking, the handling, you've already stated it, but how? I don't think there's enough information out there.
And there isn't, because this is all brand spanking new, and because it's hitting these states in these areas with no chickens at all whatsoever, and there's no kind of that's not livestock. What do we call chickens when we're farming them?
Poultry.
Poultry.
Yes.
Poultry. I knew that.
But
Sounds
The
good.
only thing that they can think of is that it's migratory birds, and they don't have any proof of it. This is just what they're thinking and
at
ballparking.
some point, they got to be around
Yeah.
chickens and stuff like that too, I guess. But
Guess we'll have to table that for another
So-
discussion when we have more information.
All right. I
I
just
do
want
have
to
a
say
little
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I have a little information on the
I never
scientific side.
I never put on gloves or anything like that. I would, especially with ducks or any kind of fowl. I guess I've always just been go raw dog. I guess
I'm in the same boat as Ruben. I wear gloves religiously now, but it's not because of disease or anything like that. It's just because it's easier to clean my hands.
Yeah.
Once I'm done, because the blood it gets into your nails and everything, and like 2 days later, stained.
Cleaning, I have no problem. I do that as well, or elk, deer, and stuff like that. Obviously, I'll put on rubber gloves for that just because it's just easier to
Mhm.
clean up. But ducks,
Yeah.
geese, never. I never have. So
We'll table this until next year, and after this season, and we'll see.
Right?
We'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
I might start wearing gloves.
Yeah, if one of us isn't sitting here next year, we
See, I told you.
Well, I did have a chance to do some testing back in 2024, the end of the duck season for Endow, because we're currently trying to get Canada geese translocated back into the Hyco region. And so we've been testing. Now, the testing process is about 6 to 9 weeks behind when it comes to Endow sending these birds that are tested up north. We are getting positive results in Nevada for the virus.
Okay.
But what we're learning is this: it's not necessarily killing birds; they're carrying it. But if they do die, they do start decomposing in the soil. That's where these dogs end up coming. They retrieve everything. Their nose is built for migratory birds. All of a sudden, she comes back with a maggot-filled bird. Now we could be getting her sick. We're not having a lot of birds die as of right now in Nevada from the bird flu. But we're still in the testing phase. We're only 2 years into that. And wearing rubber gloves, Ruben, it's the best thing to be doing when you're cleaning your birds. I'm not saying when we're hunting, but yeah, when you're handling the internal portion of the bird, why not? We're doing it with big game. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. That's some good information that was put out there. Thank you guys for that. Thanks for indulging me.
Yeah.
So, now let's get to where we're actually here. Shotguns.
Boom.
Does everybody have like a single favorite, your go-to, or do you just have whatever? Like I got Monday is this guy and Tuesday is this guy.
Gosh.
Boy, that's a rabbit hole question. Right
Exactly.
What are we shooting?
What am I wearing?
What are we shooting? So, anybody want to answer that first?
You go last. You're gonna. Yeah, you go.
It's evolved over time, I think.
Okay.
You know, obviously when we first start hunting, you know, sometimes dad's throwing you the little 20 gauge single shot, you know, you're evolving from whatever you can get your hands on, you know, and obviously budget is something for new hunters that never make it out into the field and just want to, hey, I want to go duck hunting. What do I got to do? Well, get a shotgun. That's number one, you know. I started off, mine was a Winchester featherweight 1300 is this little thing. I shot more ducks with that thing than I ever have with any of my new guns. Now I got the new and latest and greatest, but I loved that gun, you know, and the 870, you know, it just goes down the list where there's so many great guns out there that it's what is, I think, for each hunter is going to be a little bit different. So
Actually, can you grab your gun that you brought?
Yeah.
And just run through it real quick and make sure you clear it for us.
yeah,
I know everything was clear beforehand, but we're gonna do it again.
absolutely. Better put my ears back on here. So yeah, this
Okay,
is
so what about that gun is it that you like? That you evolved to?
Well, I actually before this one I was shooting the Browning, the A5, and didn't like it as much. This thing just shoots so much better as far as recoil and everything. I haven't had a lot of times with this. I've only had it for about a year, and I didn't make it out much last year because, well, I don't have a lot of time to get hunting. So, but this is the old Beretta A400 Extreme. So it's been a great gun. I've had a few times in the field, but you get little scars on it. But that's what guns are for. If you're afraid of getting a nick here and there on it, duck hunting's not for you because that's going to happen. Yeah. So, absolutely.
Nice. What? Can you hold that up?
Yeah.
Is somebody's phone?
I think it's the office phone.
Oh, don't worry about it. What I do like is that charging handle. You have this big oversized, so if you're wearing gloves,
yes.
This is almost set up like a 3-gun gun.
Yeah.
Almost.
So.
You have your big release here.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Ruben.
That you just mentioned that looks like a 3-gun.
It looks like it's almost a 3-gun setup.
What the host is talking about is that in 3-gun competition, a lot of the operating parts of the gun are enlarged so that it's easier to handle, to manipulate, that sort of thing. And so I believe that's where it came from. In talking about waterfowl trends, it's one of the most exciting times for waterfowl hunters, because before it used to be you just go down to Walmart or Kmart and go buy your 870 shotgun. But now the waterfowl industry has grown so much that now it has this niche where it's building waterfowl shotguns for us waterfowlers, right? And so one of the things that you guys keyed on there is the slam button. The slam button is the terminology for the bolt release. And so I think you depicted it on there. That's the button that you push to release the bolt forward. And so it's a lot bigger because obviously you have possibly gloves on. And as everybody knows, we've sat out in the cold out there, and your fingers sometimes don't work that well, right?
Yeah.
And so
That's happened.
You're just like a retard, just kind of pushing the button and hoping everything works. And then you also have the actual bolt. The bolt is actually the bolt handle is actually enlarged as well. So those are features that is now standard in the waterfowl industry. Most of your hottest shotguns out there have obviously as I stated, the bolt release as well as the bolt handle. The other things that they're touching on is this particular gun here that's on the table has a recoil pad as well as a recoil for your cheek piece. Right? Everything is made for comfort and made for efficiency. And we can get into obviously the chokes here in a little bit later, but the ultimate shotgun these days, and the greatest thing is that they all come in different forms, gauges, caliber, or as far as gauges, barrel lengths, but more importantly, price points. So you can buy a really decent shotgun for around $500, and then going all the way up to like a Beretta, in this case an A400 Extreme, or you're going up to a Benelli Super Black Eagle. But you don't necessarily have to do that. The gun technology today has gotten so good that a lot of these guns from Turkey, inertia guns, and we could dive into that a little bit more. But those guns are superb coming out of Turkey, and they're great.
They really are.
They're great guns in the field, and we'll tell you a story about Nick Gulley here in a little bit with his retake, because that's something that, all of us as waterfowlers, we are in such a renaissance age for shotguns, right? For equipment period. Yeah. And so we're so used to, as Greg had described, that, hey, this is what I started off with. I'm sure when we go through this table, everybody started off with that favorite shotgun or that single action shotgun, right? And we're so hard pressed to change, right? To change, like, oh, I'm a 12 gauge guy. I'm a 12 gauge guy. That's all I'm going to shoot. But again, the hot item right now is sub gauges. A lot of waterfowlers throughout the country are realizing now the technology on shotgun shells and components, it's becoming a very efficient killer. So we can use less than a 12 gauge, right? Yeah. So as we get older, we become recoil sensitive, like myself, and I prefer to shoot a 20 gauge. And you'll have to get the story from Nick as far as, he's always been a 12 gauge guy, but it was like pulling teeth a little bit. His gun had to break for him to try something different, right? And then he still bought a 12 gauge, but then, Nick, try this. And it was a 20. I'll let him tell that story. But don't be closed-minded. That's what I tell the listeners here, is that don't be closed-minded. And try something different. If your buddy has a new gun, try it out. See if you like it or not, right? We're very much surprised. Let's spoil ourselves and buy some really, really good stuff out there, right? So sorry for taking over that.
No, that was perfect. And to go with what you just said, like my dad, he has now switched over to 20, which he never even looked at before. He came out with me and Veronica, and he shot hers, and he was like, "Whoa, this is beautiful." Same thing with archery too, because he was still shooting 80 pounds, and he was with us when she took a ram at 50 pounds, and he was like, "I didn't know that was even possible." So now he's cranked his down. He's like, "My shoulder works better." So he's all in. I like that. Don't be resistant to change.
On a daily basis, I tell people to come into our shop and say, "Hey, I want this gun. I want that gun." Well, every gun is like a Ford, Chevy, Dodge type thing. What feels good to you may not feel good to another person. So, you got to shoulder it. You got to feel how it is, how it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And it's a personal thing when you're buying a shotgun, because it's not everybody's going to be a Beretta guy. Not everybody's going to be a Benelli guy. Some people want the Turkish clones because, well, that's what they want, or they want pump because they want that dependability.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, what about you, Don? Did you bring your favorite in today?
No.
You didn't?
No guns.
Just tell us what you shoot.
My first gun was a Winchester 1300 30-inch barrel full choke. And that was given to me after the 410 single shot that I was given for my 15th birthday wouldn't kill a squirrel.
I think that was user error.
The squirrel was running up the tree.
It was user error.
Bark and pellets were all around the squirrel. The squirrel just shook it off and went up the tree. So I handed that back to my dad, asked him for a bigger gun. He gave me that Winchester 1300. And then when I moved out here and met up with the WHIN group and was invited duck hunting for the first time with Joel and Ron, I borrowed a gun from Ron. Well, I was hooked. We had a great time. I don't even know if we killed any ducks. We was waist deep in ice cold water and mud. But it was a good time. I was with good people. So I wasn't sure I was ready for the commitment to go buy a Super Black Eagle 3.
Oh.
So I bought a Winchester SX4. After a hunt with Joel in his boat, he let me borrow his SXP, which was the pump version of the automatic. So I spent $1,000. I bought the SX4, and I've been very happy with it so far. It's shot a few ducks.
Nice. There you go.
Very good.
What about you, Mr. Gulley?
Since I'm the second oldest in the room, I used to shoot lead back in the days, the beautiful, wonderful days of lead shooting for waterfowl.
Good old
So
days.
I was 11 years old, and Dad started me out with a Belgian-made Browning, 30-inch barrel with the Damascus barrel, and laying in a cornfield in Illinois shooting geese.
There you go.
So I was probably about 70 pounds, and the gun's 100. So watching me try to bring this thing out in the field was pretty fun. And I think you got entertainment out of that. Then once we transitioned to steel in the late 70s, early 80s, I was a Mossberg guy. So I started out with the Mossberg pump, ran with that for a while, and then I fell in love with Gen 1 Franke, the original Affinity, in 3.5 inch, right? So back then, this is what everybody was running. We were the young guns back there. We were running that. Bismuth wasn't really taking off at the point. We were trying to figure out different speeds from steel from lead, So I ran that for about 2 years before I finally found the round that worked with that gun, and I started learning. Match your ammo to the shotgun you're shooting to the birds you're chasing.
Yep.
I shot that gun from 1998 until November 16th, 2023. There's probably over 25,000 rounds, and as Ruben said, Ruben was trying to tell me to drop them. Being older guys, we're starting to look at sub gauges. saw him out there with a 20 gauge. I believe it was a Rite. And he goes, you got to try it. So I shot it a couple times. Pretty impressed with it. Wasn't shooting at birds, just trying to run the gun and see what it's like. I go to shoot a teal. Paired up with a couple of widgeon. I drop the teal with the Frankie. And what comes outside of the action? The bolt.
Ooh.
I had sheared from so many years of use. The recoil spring guides had just sheared off. So now I got to go to a new gun. He's like, you got to run this 20. So I started running the Rite 20. And that's where I'm at now. I love it. I love a 20 gauge. I transitioned after I replaced the Frankie with the Beretta A300. I think that's the Ultima, I believe, which only shoots 3-inch. I never really ran 3.5-inch shells after a while. Why? You know, you're beating yourself up. You let them birds come in and decoy. I have a rule. I said my last decoy at 35 yards, I want them in my face so I can shoot them in the lips. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Less work for the dog, effective ammunition, potential, and I'm not shooting a lot of ammo. Average duck is 2 to 3 rounds to kill one bird. I want to kill 1 to 2. Price point nowadays with the price of ammo, we're all looking at tariffs or not, right? But the 20 gauge, Ruben got me into the 20 gauge, and that's my everyday killer. And then the 12 is for if we get some geese that come into the decoys and work that. So I always carry 2 guns. No law says you can't. It says you can only have 3 rounds in your firearm. But none says you can't have 10 guns lined up. I have 2. 20 gauges right there as number 1. 12 gauges for the geese, and in case the 20 does go down.
You know, it's funny. There's a guy on TikTok or Facebook. He's from Mississippi, Grenada Lake area. He is a big-time trap and skeet shooter. He's also got some very funny videos, but he's been doing a lot with 410s. And he's claiming that with the TSS ammo, he can shoot that 410 at 60 yards and kill ducks.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
I was going to ask Nick. So, what's the main difference you see shooting a 12 and 20 as far as effective killing?
Well, I do see that I got to let the birds work in a little tighter.
Right.
Okay. When I'm running the 20. Okay. So I'm now hunting. I'm not shooting. All right. I'm calling. I'm taking my decoys, and if I have to adjust decoy spreads a little bit to get them birds to work in a little closer, I have an advantage, Joe Ruben. You know, I'm on the management area every 2 days. Right. So I know where the birds are. I know where the X is every day where my home spot. But if I go to somewhere new, I got to learn them birds. I may have to move decoys around for that 20 gauge to be effective. And I'm shooting them in a little bit tighter. I'm not going to reach out there. If I miss this first and second round, I'm not reaching out there another 40 when they've spun around. Because now I'm shooting at the back of the bird. Yes. If it's late season, they've got more feathers. And I'm wounding them. I let them get out and go. If I have a chance, I may pick up that 12 and throw a oh shit round at them. But most of the time, I'm done after the 3 and go, you get another day to live. 12 gauge, I can reach up and grab them. And I'm only shooting 3-inch. I'll plug heavy metal. I shoot number 3s and 4s early season. Late season, I transition number 2s. And I'm still shooting birds at 60 yards if I have to. But I'd rather get them in the decoys.
Right. And I think that from my experiences, we share the same experiences as far as it's made waterfowling more fun for me again, right? Definitely 20s are much more fun because of obviously the recoil, but to what Nick was saying about working the birds tighter, and him and I prefer to work them as tight as we can, right? We're not really wanting to shoot anything past 25 yards. Right. And that's how we just love toes down, and that's when we're pulling triggers. But that 20 really, really reminds you that you got to be playing that game, right? That you got to bring your decoys, and you're constantly looking at your decoys and resetting your decoys to make those birds land where you want them so you can make that effective shot on a 20. And I know Nick will attest to this. Surprisingly, that 20 will reach out and get them as well, yes, right? Will. But the preference is obviously 20, 25 yards with the 20 gauge. It's much more sporting for the waterfowler, right?
And I had to call Ruben one day. I was having problems marrying ammunition up to the 20 gauge, right? So I had to call Ruben. I said, hey, my normal rounds I'm running. He goes, switch to this. I switched to a game changer, right? So you got to be able to marry that ammo up to the firearm to the fowl you're going to chase to be successful. I'm never going to tell anybody how to hunt. You want to shoot at birds at 16, 70 yards, do it. If your pocketbook can afford it, great. But as you get older, you learn you don't need to do that. Hunt them up, shoot them in tighter. And I am an old school Phil Robertson guy. If I fool them and I get them on the water, they're getting water swatted. All right? I have no problem with that because I fooled them with my decoys. Maybe my call or I had to be quiet and they came in. I've got no problem with shooting them on the water because I'm feeding my family.
So maybe you just woke up and they were there, right?
Right? Put down my cigar.
That's never happened.
There's 4 mallards sitting in here.
So going off of what Nick was just talking about, the ammunition between the 12 gauge and the 20 gauge, is it a big difference going from one to the other? And then how do we start to break down 1 1/4 shot, 1 3/8 shot, the different sizes of shot? I kind of mentioned this earlier before we started this. When I grew up, I was always told that an 8 shot is 8 BBs per ounce. And apparently that's really not the case. Because when we were shooting lead back in the late 70s, early 80s, you were shooting 2 3/4 inch shells. Pheasants, 6 shot.
Right.
All day long.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Greg was saying, we had guns in our cars in school.
Yeah.
On the ride home, it's pheasant season. We're going through all kinds of cornfields and dirt roads from my high school back to the house. We're pheasant hunting after school.
Yep.
And before school. But now we got, tungsten bitsmiths, you've got steel, you've got hex BBs, you name it, you got it, but you got inch and 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 3/8. Break this down and teach us about the shotgun shells.
So let me back up for a second and go back to what Nick Gulley said, because this is so important, right? You have to match the shell to the game, right? So obviously we're shooting ducks, right? Duck size. We're not on a goose hunt, or maybe we're on a goose hunt. So let me just try to simplify this without going down too many rabbit holes. So it's so important to match not only the shell to the game, but to your environment, to your hunting environment. Is it windy outside? What do you expect those ducks to do in your decoy? And so you try to match what's going on or what's going to happen in your environment. So, for instance, Nick mentioned, and this is what I do too, like early season, right? When I'm shooting a 20 gauge, I'm shooting number 6s, right? Some people are like, my God, you're shooting number 6s? That's like, that should be against the law. But actually, number 6s are very, very potent and very effective in ranges of 25 yards to 30 yards. Yep, on early ducks, right? As we all know, that duck changes its armor throughout the season. From early season duck to those late season January ducks, you got a totally different duck with different armor on. And what I mean by armor, they got all their feathers, and they got their flight feathers all grown out. Everything is different about that duck. And you need to be able to punch holes through him at those effective ranges. So what do you need? Okay, what you need is heavier or heavier pellet size or bigger pellet size. So number 6, I start to put those away, and I start to go to number 4s, then to number 2s, right? So that's where we ended up. Before, what the norm was in the last several years, and some people still think this way. And, hey, and I'm not telling how to hunt, but most people will just shoot number 2s all throughout the season, right? And so I challenge everyone out there to go shot sizes down. Start with 6s in the early season. You'll be much more effective hunter, and I would guarantee that your percentage of kills and bagging ducks is going to increase if you, number one, there's several factors to this: shot size, choke size, right? And know your skill set. Know your skill set. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of us don't know our skill set. And we treat these things like we're shooting big game rifles. We're not. It's a very limited short distance type of firearm that we have to gain some skill set on. And so going back to as far as the shot shell size, right? I'm trying to go down that road now as far as trying to answer that question. What should I use? And so start off with those with number 6s, and then go to
In
my
20
favorite
gauge.
in 20 gauge.
What
right?
would you recommend?
In 12?
Early season 12.
In 12, some of us like shooting 2 3/4. Yes, right. That's pretty sport. That's pretty spirited right there.
Right.
So
Been there.
I got a Winchester 101 sitting right here in 2 3/4. Right. I love shooting that as an early gauge gun. Early gauge, or it's a 12 gauge, but I shoot 2 3/4. And I'm shooting 6s and 4s and 6s during the early season.
Mm-hmm.
But I do change guns during the late season. I do. Right. But make it interesting. But at the same time, the key is making sure you know what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about patterning here in a minute, right? Because that's my pet peeve.
Yeah.
That's my pet peeve. I'm not supposed to hit the table, but that's my pet peeve. Right?
You hit the point.
Yeah.
You're making a point.
But anyway, I don't want to take the room away, but I know Joel has something to say here about
No,
that.
I was just going to say, so I start out with 4s
Mhm.
early in the season and go to 1s, but that's what patterns out of my gun.
There you go.
My gun does not like 2s. It does not like 3s. I can't kill birds with either one of those shots, but 1s and 4s. So early in the season, I'm 4s starting out. Late season, like you said, they got fat, they got feathers, and that's what takes them out of the sky.
See, and it takes, we know this. We know this because we pattern our guns, or we shoot a lot, or been shooting a long time when we know how these different shot shells react, or how the birds react to these different shot shells and gauges, right? But to get there the fastest is to pattern that gun, and you will know what that gun wants to eat, and will perform the best for you.
Yep.
Right. So,
I do the same thing, but I do it for different reasons.
okay.
So I start out with 4s and 6s, and then I end up with 3s and 2s, and I'll keep a 4 on my side just in case there's a runner while I'm out in the water trying to pick up a decoy, whatever. I do it because in the early season, at the end of the day, it's the same reasoning, but I didn't know that. At the end of the day, in early season, you're shooting 3s and 2s, you're tearing up the meat. Yeah, you're knocking them out of the sky, but I was like, man, this is all mangled up. So I just went to 4s and 6s because that's how I was taught, and that's what I did. And then 3s and 2s. So I get that, and I'm glad that you actually said that because I actually have a better reason as to why I'm doing it, and we're doing the same thing. It's kind of like we talked about decoys one time, and you were like, hey, why did you do that? And I did it, and you were like, But I was doing it correctly, but I was doing it for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. I think that's going to help a lot of people. So,
It's good stuff.
Joel, what gun did you bring?
Oh, I brought several, but my go-to is the 870 pump. Couple reasons. I'm out in the mud. Sometimes that gun acts as a paddle. Sometimes that gun acts as a cane. I've had to push myself out of the mud before with it. I started out with a A5 Browning. It's a 1934 model. Sweet old gun, but I hate beating it around in the duck boat these days. That old gal deserves better. And plus, I don't like sending the steel shot down the barrels. Those old Belgian Brownings. So it's reliable. As far as cleaning them, that's something else. I hate cleaning my guns. I travel for work, so I get it back in Sunday nights. I throw it in the boat, park it, and then it's good to go next weekend with a little spray of WD-40, and it may crunch when it slides, but it's still gonna slide. Been shooting that gun now for since my late 20s, early 30s. It's real dependable. I keep a backup gun, as Don said. That's the Winchester I let him borrow. It's a 3-inch gun. I keep it sitting in the front of the boat, loaded with 3.5 case BBs, in case some geese come in to grab it. As Nick said, no rule says we can't have multiple guns. It's a backup. There again, it's another gun I don't care about. Dave Hawkins, first day I had it out, dropped it in the sunny side up in Hay Meadow. We had to go fishing for it, but you know.
Got that magnet.
Yeah, it didn't make me mad, you know. So.
Well, I'm right there with you, Joel, and I get it. When you say 870, I brought mine out. This is my number one go-to, and everybody makes fun of me when I come out, but at the end of the day, we all get our limits. I just do it with less shells, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I've had this guy forever as well, and it's all battle rattled up, and it can get beat up. It's never failed me, not once. Probably $200, and that's all it was. And it goes back to tradition. And like you were talking about it before, Ruben, it makes you a better shooter if you don't have all these other advantages. Because I do know I go out with some other people and they have these $1,100, $1,600, $2,000 guns, and they're shooting 30 minutes before I'm even trying to shoot. I'm like, why are you shooting? And they're missing. I'm like, wait, just let them get closer, because I let them get closer. So that's my deal, is the 870 pump. Never going to give it up at all whatsoever.
With the custom swivels.
Hey, you like that?
Love it.
Gotta make that work. 50 core, you're good to go.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I noticed that you have a sling on there.
Yeah.
So that's, for us waterfowlers, that's the norm. You should have I believe your gun should have a sling on it, especially out in the field, because there's a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with retrieves or you have handling a dog or going out there to handle a cripple, you end up having to have you need both of your hands.
Yep.
And so I think it's a very, very, one of the important tools on a waterfowl hunting shotgun is a sling, right? One of the most important tools to have. I know people complain that it gets hung up in the blind, in the brush, but nowadays they have the quick swivel releases, that sort of thing, and you can unhook the gun if you're in the duck blind. But for sure, I think it's a must. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
I think it's an extreme amount of must-haves. And if it's getting hung up, then I think that just means you need some practice.
Yeah, well, I think it's...
have your own shooting lanes inside of your blind.
Absolutely.
Clear. So, talking about favorite duck hunting guns. So, let's just put it this way: if I had to pick just one gun, and I was traveling, right? So, 12 gauge obviously is the quintessential waterfowl gauge, right? And so, mine would be a 12 gauge, because I know that if I end up in any small town America, I can find 2 3/4, 3-inch. And in this particular case, this is a Super Black Eagle 2, which also fires a 3.5-inch shell, right? So that could be a benefit if the store has run out of 2 3/4, 3-inch, and the only thing left. And how many times during COVID, that the only shells that were on the shelf was 3.5-inch 12-gauge shells, right? So
I still refuse to buy them.
That's why I bought the Winchester.
So that may be one benefit, but otherwise, I'm like a lot of you guys in here. I don't even put 3.5-inch shells in my gun, right? I really don't. You can kill everything with a 12, but now I'm finding out you can kill everything with a 20. It's all about skill set, right?
Yep.
Master what you have. But as far as favorite guns, this would be my go-to, grabbing it out of the shelf. And I love Federal Blackfile number 3s. That is my go-to 12 gauge. If I was just to pick one shot shell size, I think it fits the bill for the way I hunt and for most places where I do hunt. Right, is a number 3. So that's my go-to. Again, this is something that's funny. You know, I'm an old 3-gun competition guy. And so I turned all of my duck guns into 3-gun competition type guns, where I have the extended, latch, the extended mash button or oversized mash button, right? So these are things that we modified our guns to work more efficiently for us while we're out in the field, right? So, and one of the most important things too, I think, in most of your modern shotguns today, and your industry is putting out shotguns with a choke system, and we can break down this choke system.
Actually, let's talk about the choke system. I know that growing up, we had our chokes that came with it. You screw it in, you're done. You probably never took it out ever again. That's just what it was.
That's what we did.
I still have 3 shotguns from when I was a kid in the house right now.
Right.
However, one of the things I have changed, like even on my 870 here, is I actually have a choke on here. And shout out to Kicks Chokes, one of our sponsors, Battleborn Duckers, Field to Grill, and WHIN. Thank you guys. They put out a fantastic product. But if you could go ahead and break down chokes for the person that says, "Why do we need this?"
Let's go back. Just rewind for historical purposes, right? For us older guys, and then for you younger guys that have joined the waterfowl world here in the last 10 years, chokes were not a thing. It used to be that shotguns came with one size, one choke size, and what we're talking about is the constriction of the end of your barrel and how that will pattern, right? And so Nick said it earlier, right? He talked about your first gun was a Browning A5, right? That was the quintessential semi-automatic shotgun back in the day, right? So the barrel length was 30 inches, and it always came in full, right?
Yep.
And so here's the quintessential pump gun right here. And so this is a Winchester Model 12, right? An oldie but goodie. And this is probably what you saw in the duck blind in the 30s, 40s, 50s, is this Winchester, like in the Model 12. This particular Model 12 is what they call the Winchester duck gun because it has a ventilated, or a rib. It's not ventilated, but it's a solid rib. But this tube right here, it's so tight, it's a full choke. Okay. So that's where we're going to start. Full choke. Basically, if you can see on your screen there, the full choke, and we're going to break this down so everybody understands this. And so, but before I do that, let me ask everybody in this room, right? I love asking this question. What choke do you use?
Improved.
Improve, modified, improve cylinder,
It's improved modified, sorry.
Improve modified, or a light modified?
Yeah.
Okay.
Modified.
Modified? McGully.
Kicks high flyer modified.
Modified.
You got an improved cylinder?
I see. Right? Improved cylinder.
And mine's a modified. Modified, yep.
Okay. So I only shoot, believe it or not, I only shoot IC. That's for the most of all my shooting, 99% of my shooting, I shoot improved cylinder, right? For the distances I shoot, the type of shells I shoot, and the style of shooting. So I asked this question because if you guys understand constrictions, that if you're shooting in, so now we're talking about why, let's go back to why this is a full choke, right? It's a full choke because back in the day, old guys got to shoot lead, right? Right? And this was a killer, right? There was no such thing as steel, right? And so the most effective for that shot, for that type of shot and material was lead. So anyway, now that we've gotten into federal law that says that we have to shoot non-toxic shot, and so we're into steel loads, right? And so this is the number one thing that a lot of people don't know is that constrictions in regard, when you compare constrictions, when I say constrictions, the diameter of the end of your barrel, right? So we talked about improved cylinder, we talked about modified, we talked about full choke and cylinder, and there's skeet 1 and 2, that sort of thing, right? So those are all chokes now, right? That you can change on the fly what your constriction is to match your game, to match your ammunition that you're going to use, right?
Yep.
So when you shoot most of these guns are constricted under the lead rule. Okay, so if I take this Benelli right here and I put in my modified choke, right, and I shoot modified with lead, it's going to show by standard that this is the pattern. It's going to be this pattern. Nice pattern with lead. But if I use the same choke, same gun, but I run steel, okay, that pattern is going to be way tighter.
Yep.
Okay, so it's going to be one more up. And so the best way to explain this is that if I'm shooting modified with steel, I'm really shooting full. Okay, I'm really shooting full.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. So when I say I shoot improved cylinder, right? So let's take a look at that chart here. It basically improved cylinder is out to 30 yards, right? That's with steel. That's with steel. But if you do it with lead, it's going to kick you out. You're shooting things. You can shoot things out past 40 yards, 50 yards. That's a 50-yard gun. Okay. So what I'm saying is you're over choked. Most people I meet in duck blinds in the field all over is that they're over choked by shooting a modified choke, right? They're under the belief that, oh, modified. I looked at some chart on Google. I Googled it and it says here's my distances, but in fact it does change. The constriction does change when you're shooting a harder material. So in actuality, most everybody is shooting full guns.
So you're saying in order to shoot modified with steel, you should shoot an improved cylinder.
Yes.
Correct.
100%.
What?
Yes.
And what are you patterning at? How do you pattern at 40 yards?
So yes, I'm a 40. When I teach patterning classes, I use the 40, right? So there's point of impact versus point of aim. And we can go down that road, but the bottom line is you have to establish the point of impact for that gun, right? That is established at 25 yards. That's how I do it. But then you start to bring that paper out to see where your impacts are at 30 yards. But the standard, the industry standard is 40 yards.
Really? I thought 30. I thought it was 30.
I prefer 40. You're going to
Okay.
hear a lot of theories on that as far as 40, 30. But I like to push it out to 4. I like 40. So I have everybody shoot their favorite loads at 40. So that's a point. That's point of impact. Once you determine point of impact, and when I'm saying point of impact, so here's my number one question to people: would you go out like you just got the best tag in Nevada? Would you go out and try to kill that mule deer or that bull elk without sighting in your gun?
Right.
Would you do that?
Exactly.
Right. So you want to be prepared to kill that, to harvest that animal and make the most ethical shot. So my question to waterfowlers is, why aren't you doing that with your shotgun? Why aren't you sighting in your shotgun like you would sighting in your new big game rifle?
Because it's a shotgun.
Yeah.
I've got all kinds of pellets going down range.
That's right.
It's like horseshoes. I can be close.
Right.
But that's not the proper etiquette.
No, it's not the proper etiquette, and it's unethical, right? You have to know what your gun is doing at certain distances with certain loads. And here is the hard part. So Nick and I both shoot retays, which we do. And his retay with the same load may shoot differently than my retay with the same choke. And then now you put on a kick splitter choke, that's a totally different, it could become a totally different ball game, right? But I see I caught your attention here, Joe Rogan.
Well, no.
So I want to go back to that. I want to make sure you're always one up when you're shooting steel. So if you're shooting cylinder, right, that's pretty much the most open constriction, right? Besides skeet 1 and 2. But so if you're shooting cylinder and you're shooting steel shot, just to show you this, you're actually shooting an improved cylinder that's equivalent to lead.
All right.
Yeah.
You're
So does that make sense? You gotta come one down. You gotta
Gotcha.
always come down from what you think you want to shoot, especially if you're shooting steel. Right? That's the general rule.
Does that change with tungsten and missiles too?
You have to try it. You have
to pattern it because it's
changing ammo.
And to do that 25, 35, 40, just to know exactly how many pellets are actually hitting at those distances, because some shells won't open up as much, you know.
Right. They won't open up as much.
It changes by
depends on
brand
the barrel.
too, right?
Yeah.
It depends on there's a number of choke manufacturers out there. They're all really good, but the bottom line is us as waterfowlers, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We should pattern that choke. That Kicks, that Carlson, that Muller, everything. You know, you should pattern those chokes.
Too many people just come in and buy that cheapest ammo they can, just because I'm going to go duck hunting. I'm just going to grab the Federals that are $15.99.
If you can get a limit with the $15.99 Federals, there's nothing wrong with that.
You're right.
Well, as long as your gun is patterned to that, right?
As long as you found a pattern to that gun. And so I can't tell you the number of hunters that come to me every time I see them in the blind. Hey, Ruben, that was the one single cheat code that I did not know that I was overchoked. Once they went to improved cylinder, they increased. Not only did they increase their hit ratio, but their kills were better. Meaning they were more humane, they were more ethical. They weren't losing birds and chasing birds because they actually patterned their guns and they knew what that gun was capable of. Correct. And that's increasing your skill set, right? That's what I mean.
And that is money, yeah.
Yeah, it is money. So if there's one single thing that your listeners can take away from this is just simply pattern your gun with your favorite load, right? We're not even going to talk. We're also going to talk about. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. But the bottom line is, yes, pattern your gun. And so that when I mentioned earlier, point of impact versus point of aim. Okay, so these guns, if I take any one of these guns and put a target out at 25 yards, I put it on a bench rest, right? Just like a deer rifle. And I keep pulling that trigger. Eventually, when I fire maybe 5-6 rounds, it's going to tear up that paper. But what's interesting is you're going to see a density spot where that target is hitting. And you'll realize, oh, that gun shoots high into the right. And because you'll see the density pattern at 25 yards. And so that's what I call the point of impact, right? And so that's interesting because the further you go out, obviously your pellets will spread out even more, but you'll see something that's consistent. It keeps consistently going right, or it keeps consistently going left, right? So that is part of your scope system, like on your deer rifle. So now if you know where your point of impact is, because you can't adjust it, because you're doing Kentucky, you'd have to do some sort of Kentucky windage, right? So that's your point of aim. So if I know that if that gun is shooting with this particular choke, this particular shot shell is shooting right and high, my point of aim when I'm shooting that duck is going to have to be different.
Yeah.
You can't rely on, I'm going to get right on them, and think of all the other factors that you're dealing with. If it's a right or left duck with your lead, I mean, your baseline, you don't have a baseline.
Yeah.
If you pattern, you'll develop a baseline, so you'll be much more successful in knowing where to point of aim.
Love that.
Because you know your point of impact, right? So you'll harvest more ducks ethically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
You might get closer to the mic for me. That was
sorry.
That was a lot.
Years ago, Italian-made shotguns really were patterned, almost hold at 6 o'clock. Right?
Yes.
And that has changed over the years. But those of us who had to shoot lead, we were only shooting 1150, 1175 in speed. We made the transition to steel.
And all of a sudden we started noticing we're hitting birds, but that steel's so fast. And back then everything was perfectly round. It was blowing through the birds, and you'd see feathers come off that back, and that bird's selling another 100 yards before it died. Now with the improvement of tungsten and the softer metals that we're allowed to use that are non-toxic, they're trying to duplicate almost what lead was, because lead is not perfect. It's got all these sharp edges and all that. But when it comes to the point of aim, yeah, some of us had to go from a 6 o'clock hold, and then they've transitioned now where a lot of these guns you can hold right on. You know, depending. And and correct me if I'm wrong here, Ruben, if you start having some issues where the gun's shooting high right, and you're on a bench and it's consistently doing, you might want to look at throwing a shim in on that gun. You know, shim in your stock or whatever, your cheek piece, whatever, because some of these guns you can do that with. It's just going out there and pattern. You owe it to the birds. Right. And those of us who are running dogs, we can be hunting together. You got my dog on a 100-yard run because you didn't pattern your gun. Right. I'm probably going to hunt with you one time.
Well, let's face it.
That's going to be it.
It's a lot more fun to shoot the birds than just hurt them or not shoot them at all.
Yeah.
You know?
And we're obligated by law to make sure we do everything we can to retrieve these birds. But why work your dog? She's already cold. You know, it's probably 32 degrees out and the water's probably 40. And now you're running her to God's green earth to go do something we could have prevented.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that's one solution. And Nick said to shim the gun. You could be able to shim it, but or change the choke, change the shot shell. Right. Experiment. I know it in our market here in the Las Vegas market is much more difficult than going to say Missouri or Kansas or Arkansas, where there's pallets of different types of shot shells. But that's certainly a worthwhile investment if you online order from Rogers or whoever you order from, and get different type of shot shells and try to pattern that gun. I want to almost guarantee that 100% that you'll be a much better duck hunter, right? And more ethical and more confident in your shooting if you pattern that gun.
Yep.
And that's just in a nutshell. And just so from a baseline standpoint, American shotguns, when they're manufactured, what we call flat, they shoot flat or zero, right? And that means they take this gun, like a Remington or whatever the case may be, the American company, that gun, 50% of the pellet holes will be above the bore line and then below the bore line. So it's 50-50. That's what they call flat. And if you guys read different types of blogs and different threads out there that people are complaining about the Super Black Eagle 3 shooting really, really high, well, just to what Nick had alluded to, European guns, they shoot different style. They shoot differently from our shooting style, right? They float the bird, so that barrel is way, way underneath the target, right? As opposed to us aiming directly at the target, like what we're used to with our Remington 870s and such, right? And so that's something to really consider. If you're really serious about this game, yes, you can definitely improve your skill set and confidence by patterning the gun and understanding how your gun shoots.
Do these extended ported chokes, do they change the choke? So if you're using a Kicks High Flyer and modified, we're extending the barrel 1.5 inches. Does that change the pattern of that choke?
Well, it changes the pattern because of the choke constriction, right? Because obviously they have extra full, modified, improved cylinder type of thing.
But if you take a regular choke that's flush with the barrel,
right,
then you put a high flyer on it. If they're both modified, are they both modified? Is the pattern going to be the same, or does it change?
It depends on the gun, but I'm going to say generally no. It's whatever the constriction of whatever choke that you put in there. So whether it's a flush choke or an extended choke. Obviously, the extended chokes, why they were invented, I think, is basically for more efficiency as well as convenience.
It's a lot easier.
You can unscrew it and screw it off, off and on. But I don't use compensated chokes. That's something that's, some guys like that. But I also shoot with hearing protection all the time. But have you ever heard those darn things go off without hearing protection?
Yes.
It hurts, right? You don't want that
Yes.
guy to be your boat partner, for sure.
Too many times.
Right? Too many
Yeah.
times, exactly. So-
Don knows why he's pointing at me.
Right. Yeah, they hurt. Compensated ported chokes hurt, right?
Yep.
Type of stuff. So, what else?
I think that was a lot to chew on.
That is a lot.
And that was
Yeah.
that was basically like a university lesson in shotguns and chokes via
101.
that was upperclassman or class person level.
That was a 401.
Yeah, it was a
401, yeah.
400 series class right there. I loved it. Let's just end on that. Let's go around the room and Mr. Don, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I appreciate the education. This is great.
There you go. Look at you.
I got one more though.
You have one more what?
I'll make it short.
Oh, what?
Here's the question I have for everyone in the room. Have you ever had one of those days? Have ever had one of those days where you say, "Man, I'm just not hitting them," and it is one of those days that you're just not hitting them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of you guys have? I'm having a bad day. I can't hit. Nick over here is just banging everything, and I'm over here, I'm having a real issue hitting birds. There could be a reason for that. And I'll leave it at that there is a reason for that. It could truly be that you're off your game. But I always say control the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by control the controllables in this situation is how many times have you gone to the store and don't find your favorite load, right? And that favorite load, let's just say it's a federal black cloud, and it goes 1,450 feet per second, right? Well, these are on sale. I'm going to buy these, and they only go 1,350, right?
Yep.
What do you think's going to happen? Especially if you sighted in that gun, right? Now you've changed the loads. Doesn't pattern. You don't know how it's going to pattern there, and you don't know how it's going to shoot. But more importantly, you just change your speed. Yeah. You change your lead.
You have to lead them further.
Right.
100%.
So I'll leave it at that because that's the number two thing. That's the number two thing that people get into the blind. And they just don't understand why. Yesterday I was killing them good, and today, because I ran out of that other ammo, now I'm using Nick's ammo, I can't hit a thing, right? So those are considerations because you are changing the load. So
Yeah, so Don, does that mean that you're using different loads for that squirrel with that 14?
Clearly.
All right, Don, you have anything else to say?
No, appreciate the advice.
Nick?
Sitting on this round table with all this experience in here and me being one of the older guys, this is fun. It's educational. It's a bunch of dudes just talking shop for a passion. This is not a job for any of us. And so I want to say thank you. I am not a big believer in speed kills, so these guys run out there, I need 1,500, 1,550. No, you don't. We were killing birds with lead at 1175 and 2 3/4 inch repeaters, right? In the cardboard box. And you just kind of pattern your shotgun. That's what you have to do. Marry up that choke with your ammo and then take it out there. I shoot steel in sporting clay. Even though it's not allowed, I do it because I practice like I play. So my gun is always operating on the same system. I was a law enforcement officer for 27 and a half years. My handgun stayed the same, whether it was a 40 or a 9. It was a certain caliber or a certain make, which was Glock. So that way I knew everything was transitionable for me that I trained with every day. Same thing in the world of duck hunting. Practice like you play. And then when it comes to the end of the day, conservation is a lifestyle, baby. Go win.
Hey, go ahead and plug yourself there, Nick. How can people find you?
Find me on Instagram under Marsh Addiction NV. That's Nora Victor. And I'm also going to start a YouTube channel here in probably the next few weeks. So Marsh Addiction NV. If you want to reach out to me in an email, marshaddictionnv@gmail.com.
Roger that. Don, how can we reach you? Or do you want to be reached?
No.
Okay, there you go. His name is
John.
John Doe. Yep.
All right, Mr. Greg.
Well,
Last parting words, and how can people reach you?
absolute amazing time here. Obviously, talking guns, talking hunting is definitely a passion, I think, of all of us. And we really, we all have to just soak it up off of everybody you meet and just learn as much as you can, because it's a lot of good stuff out there. Just talking about that is, going out and practicing, going shooting skeet, get out there as much as you can. That's the fun part.
There you go.
But yeah, you can reach me at my gun shop is actually the easiest place to do it. So beararmsusa.com, get on there, and you can reach out to me directly through that. So
okay, where are you guys located?
We are downtown Henderson. We are on Basic between Boulder Highway and Water Street.
There you go. And Greg's shop, they actually took care of all of our firearms that we had for the banquet this year. How many do we have?
300.
300 some odd.
It was a lot.
And him and
a lot.
one other person got it done.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It was a chore.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Joel.
Yeah, you could reach me at alavadaoutdoors@hotmail.com. Want to thank you guys for letting me participate in this, my first podcast ever.
Yeah.
Yay. So, once again, been a pleasure, hunting with you guys over the last couple of years. Like I said, being part of the WHIN community and everything, it's been a blast. Met some really good people and great friends. So, thank you.
Go.
Awesome.
The Alabama Slammer. All right, Mr. Rubes.
Just real quick, I'm very much humbled to be here. Thank you very much for having me, being able to share with you guys. And my parting shot with everybody out there, the listeners, control the controllables, because you can, right? Control the controllables and verify things and confirm things yourself. Don't believe your buddy ever, right?
Or don't believe your buddy ever,
right? Do the work yourself and confirm it, right? Control. So thank you. God bless, and good luck in the Nevada draws here that's coming up in the week.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's
exciting.
Right. That's going to be a whole nother podcast. How can people reach you, or do you want people to reach you?
They can email me, and I can help them out with the patterning, shotgun patterning, or whatever other questions they may have. You can reach me. Actually, I own a training company, Val Training Group. .com, and it's Valerio Training Group, but it's Valerio Val Training Group at gmail.com. So
there you go.
They can reach me there, or I'll give them here's my cell number, 702-767-1051. Just call me up. I'd love to talk about duck hunting. Again, everybody, good luck and God bless.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. Amen.
Yeah, this was a fantastic time. Thank you guys all for showing up, including you, Miss Ma'am. I wish we could put you up on a table. Anyway, that was the new dog. This year was her first year, right? This past year?
Oh, no. This was her third season. And she just turned 3, but it was her third season.
Okay.
Yep. She's a veteran now.
No, you're good.
This is Rydel Danzie with Field of Grill, a.k.a. F2G and WHIN, here at the Battleborn Duckers Studios. With the bow gun and reel, we'll bring it to you from the field to the grill. And remember, conservation is a lifestyle.